Hey everybody, it's Lomentini lit up, and I'm not really so sure what I'm lit up about. I'm lit up about my colossal collapse as of late, and I don't know what we're going to do here. I have my very good friend Greg Pease, maybe try and figure out what's going on with me and what has happened to me as of late. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I appreciate being here with you because I get to be here with you. Obviously, as we dive in a little bit, everyone's wondering what the hell are they talking about. As we dive in a little bit, everyone will get a little bit more of what's going on. And I just appreciate that you're still here with us and that I have the opportunity to disclose this to have the opportunity for you to share everyone what's going on from your lens. And I commend you on your transparency.
I don't know. I've been trying to quantify exactly what I want to say. So we're just going to say all kinds of stuff today. And for all of you out there wondering what's going on, we all deal with, I don't know, for lack of a better word, demons and things that we haven't healed in our lives. And as of late, I don't even know how to explain what happened other than, I hope that what we're doing today is that if there's some message that through my turmoil that can help somebody else out there, maybe wake up, see the red flags in front of them or whatever, and maybe heal themselves before something like what happened to me happened to them.
Yeah. I think this is a great time to dive in. However much you want to share with everyone the essence of what happened, I'd love for you to share that. But from there, I want to take it back. I want to take it back to where did you have the opportunity to notice red flags in the past? Where did you have the opportunity to grow in the past? Where did we get to this place so that those that are listening can have their awareness and their realization? Share with us at whatever level you want to share with everyone what we're about to unpack.
That's the thing about red flags is how many times have we seen the red flags? We've been the red flag or whatever. But it's not until after the collapse, you're like, damn it, there was the red flag. Why didn't I pay attention to it at the time?
And they're always there after hindsight's always 20/20. Hindsight, we know that. And I think that's a piece to unpack of its own. Why do we why do we convince ourselves that our red flags aren't red flags? And maybe not even just the why, but just the realization of when we have that one area that we need help with. I want to say, from that's watching, we're all in the same boat at some level. For those of you that say, no, not me, I'm way ahead, I'm way better than you guys, then you're free and clear of this. Reject it because I want you to be better than all of us. For the rest of us, we're all going through something. We're all fighting some type of demons if we really wanted to be honest at some point in time. We're all fighting some demons. We're all going through some type of battle that no one else knows about inside of our head. And I think big piece is it's not that we don't see the red flags. It's that we convince ourselves to keep moving forth and to not deal with it because it could be there can be emotion. Who knows? For each of us, it'll be your own individual emotions, but there's a lot of emotion involved in facing ourselves.
I wish I could wrap my head around where this is all coming from. Everybody's, what are they talking about? I'll be as raw and as transparent as I possibly can without being too, I don't know, married, beautiful woman, just had a beautiful life. And she would point red flags out to me several times through various things that I would, attitudes or habits, drinking. Let's talk about it. Alcohol.
Okay.
And she would bring it up to me. And you're right. Okay, I'll look into it. I'll do something. And she would do the threatening and all that. And very typical scenario. And here's the thing that I have the hardest time wrapping my head around is because she is my why to everything. And I adored this woman and just loved her to death. And we just getting ready to celebrate our 4th year anniversary, getting ready. Just had probably the most amazing ski trip we ever had. Everything about the ski trip was amazing, from the trip to picking up luggage, the rental car, the Airbnb, just everything about the trip was beautiful. A new grandbaby was born while we were gone. Came back. She went to visit the baby. And then that Sunday, which turned out to be such a beautiful day, typical scenario, I'm doing my chores, washing sheets, washing dogs, having a few mimosas. Friends came over, watched the football game. And next thing I know, the police are there. And apparently,
Sorry, brother.
I can't imagine myself doing what was done and even trying to even digest it. And what I'm telling everybody out there right now is take my story if you can and look at yourself, look at maybe people that you might know, because all of that beautiful stuff I just pointed out, beautiful marriage, beautiful wife, all that stuff is gone like that. Gone. Because I wasn't paying attention to the red flags. I wasn't paying attention to her and what she was trying to say to me.
Dude,
we talked about this at breakfast this morning. Apparently, the why wasn't strong enough.
And let's talk about it a little bit. Let's dive in a little bit. And I would agree with that statement. And I would like to unpack it a little bit more than just a blanket agreement. And where I would like to unpack it is, why wasn't strong enough to overcome the demons that weren't fought. So it's important to note that I have a belief, I'm projecting here to you and to everyone else listening. I'm just candidly sharing right now that if we try to find a why big enough to not have to deal with our demons, I'm not sure that any why is going to be big enough. I think the big journey is, and I'm loving on you right now, and I really appreciate getting to be here and getting to do it. I think the big journey is, right, instead of like, how do I find a why that's big enough so that I can not have to face my demons? Like, how do I face my demons? And then I'm called to my why. Think about how, and I'm not sure how much you want to unpack. And for anyone out there, let me unpack some. Let me share with you guys. I've been through 30-day inpatient court-ordered alcohol rehab in my past. So I've enjoyed some drinks in my day. I did, and I've had a lot of issues with alcohol. Now, ultimately, and I want to support everyone out there on their journey. If you need to not drink alcohol, please do not drink alcohol at all. I was told that I was an alcoholic and I could never drink again. Years later in life, I was able to completely and totally consume alcohol and be okay because the alcohol wasn't the problem. We talked about this the other day.
I brought that up to a lot of people.
Good.
I'm not smiling, believe me. But it made a lot of sense because a lot of people think it's
the alcohol's the problem, it's not the problem.
But you brought it up and it made a lot of sense, and it actually opened up the eyes and ears of a lot of people when I had mentioned it. It's the solution to whatever you're trying to deal with.
It was the solution.
And then it becomes the problem.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Right, because you haven't dealt with whatever. So, for example, let's use me right now. If I was okay with myself and I could have just been a silly drunk that night.
Bingo.
Silly drunk. But no. Something else got triggered and the disaster happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now people are hurt.
Yeah.
Now there's other things involved. See, here's the thing that happens with that kind of stuff is that you haven't dealt with whatever problem you're dealing with. So you drink to soothe it, solution. Then that becomes a problem.
Becomes a problem.
And then that problem comes out.
Big problem.
And then it creates all these other problems, legal problems.
And it does almost
every time.
Almost every time. I say almost, eventually it will. If there's an alcohol, doesn't have to lead to that every time, right? But if there's an underlying problem and alcohol's becoming the solution, that solution eventually will become a problem. That becomes a really big problem. And the big thing is really allowing ourselves to take on that journey of healing. And right now, as Patrick sits here with us, very transparent and very candid, the fact of the matter is most people, I'm projecting, people probably can't actually understand the weight of what you're going to be going through. And it's a challenge too, and it's going to be a challenge. And I'm going to support you all the way through in every way I can because I have a belief in we are not our behavior. So separate the behavior, you address the behavior, but we got to heal the person.
Here's something that I want to point out just to make a point about that. Every person that I've ever talked to that has gone through AA or some sort of alcohol treatment program, they always find out it's not the alcohol. They always find out it's this problem they haven't dealt with. It's this problem they haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
It's this childhood issue, father, mother, whatever. And through the years, they've just developed the habit of using alcohol to soothe their issues. So even when they're going through AA, they get rid of the alcohol so then they can actually start talking to the person, right?
Absolutely.
So you just proven the point.
Yeah.
It's the solution. It's not the problem.
Yeah, yeah, of course. The big thing is allowing yourself now to go on that journey to heal yourself and to put out whatever energy you can to heal others that are now, other people have become a victim of your current path, and allowing yourself to go through that journey. I look at myself, and just while we're being super candid here, I have a son and a daughter with a lady. and with a ex lady, and to this day we still have trauma with each other. And the truth is, I brought a lot of my child, we've been separated for 12, 13 years, so this is, but they're still there. What I want to get at is, when we had a relationship 15 years ago, she was a victim of my trauma mindset, of my trauma living. And in the relationship, we both had our things, but nonetheless, she didn't deserve to be that. And so there's a journey ahead of us. What I want to highlight here is, like, right now, Patrick, like, you still have a journey ahead of you. I commend you for being so transparent and sharing with everyone else, and what you're sharing with everyone else. And I want to share with you, I want to pour into you what we're sharing with everyone else, that, hey, the realization to stop this from happening is going on that journey.
It's amazing talking about the why. Your why wasn't big enough. And so after this all happened, this disaster, and I'd love to go into it further, but I don't know how much further is necessary for you all to understand that it was not a good situation where I was removed from the home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think most people can probably draw between the lines.
Figure it all out. I was removed from the home. And I wasn't very cooperative in doing so. So it was almost as if, who was I? I don't even recognize the person that happened to. And I've been, there's a lot of people out there in the world that have seen Patrick Lomentini drunk, okay? Everybody, friends in Florida, you know who I'm talking about. Friends in Hawaii, you know who I'm talking about. California, y'all know who I'm talking about. But I never... It's like a demon came out of me, a demon, and attacked for no reason that I can actually put my finger on. I was going through a point here when I first started this, but about the why. And God bless her, because she's mentioned it several times about, hey, you seek some help, go to some counseling, see what's going on, slow down. She never did say quit. She may have a couple of times, but it was never like, so I don't know if this is selfish, but suddenly all of this happened. I get out of imprisonment on bail. I get some stuff, get my clothes, get some stuff, find a place, hang out for a while. And then suddenly I'm looking up AA treatments, and where can I go to get some AA treatment?
Yeah.
And I'm like, now you want to do it? You're wise. So why? So suddenly, I was calling these AA hotlines, okay? And one guy was very empathetic, and I understand, let's get you some treatments. Here's some options. And he was going through this, and I'm like, hey, let me call some other numbers. I'm just trying to find the right fit. And this other guy, for lack of a better word, was a rude man. And apparently I would be too, because a lot of people that maybe drink too much, alcoholics, whatever you want to call them, are probably in denial, thinking they can still control it, because that was my problem. I'm like, you know what? You're right, babe. I'll look into some places. I talked to her and told her enough just to keep her, okay, he's trying. Then I can control it. And then, but this guy was an asshole. And he goes, what you need is to remove yourself for 30 days, get on an airplane, go to this treatment center, and remove yourself. That's what you need to heal yourself. And I said, I really can't afford to remove myself for 30 days. I have work and job and all. He goes, I'm going to tell you something. What's going to happen to you is you're going to be a freaking out of work, homeless drunk if you don't do it. I'm like, man, and he hung up on me. And I was like, wow. And so, and in talking to my attorney and with the upcoming case coming up, I felt, and as I sit here now being raw with all of you out there, it was in selfish, defensive, trying to save myself from any more punishment if I can get in front of the judge and show him that I'm going to an AA treatment already. If I go to the front of the judge and I tell my lawyer that I've already enrolled in Rolling Hills outpatient intensive care, then that'll look really good in front of the judge. But then I'm looking at myself, I'm like, are you really truly doing that because you want to heal? Or are you doing this to make it look good in front of the judge? Or are you also in the hold on, let me say this too, just almost as a punishment to myself. Are you really honestly doing this thinking that you're possibly going to get back to your wife? And I have to come to the realization that's over. If somehow in the universe it comes around and the stars align and somehow our paths cross, but man, I have to understand she's hurting just as bad as I am.
Yes. And I can't say, yes, in her own right, more possibly. in her own right, possibly. I definitely want to, I can't imagine what she's going through right now. The grief, the fear, the possible anger,
The embarrassment.
denial, the embarrassment. I can't even imagine her weight. I can't imagine. For either one of you, and I know, and I sit here with you and again, separate, because the behavior is inappropriate, right? We separate the behavior. I'm sitting here with Patrick. I'm not sitting here with the behavior.
You know, a lot of things, and I want to put this out there too, only because I want to put it out there. I've never misled my wife on anything that I was ever going through, whether it was my finances, my credit score, what I owe and back child support or anything like that. My wife was very fully aware of everything that was going on in my life, and I challenge anybody out there to know otherwise. But yet she kept that to herself because that was between us, and she understood it. And I'd like to think that I was doing my best to get past it. But her family didn't know these things. So now that embarrassment that she married a man with all this baggage on top of what happened, that's a lot of hurt.
Yeah. Yes, for her, I want to respect her position because, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. But also, I want to say we all got baggage.
Yeah.
Every single one of us. Period. And if you're watching this and you're like, except me, then you're free and clear. I believe you. But the rest of us, we got baggage. Well, let me ask you this. Two things that came to mind. One, you asked, you're like, am I doing it because of this? Am I really ready to heal? Pat, I'm asking you in front of everyone else. You say whatever you want. You say, I don't know. I don't know what you're going to say. But my question is, are you ready to heal?
Yes. And I came to that conclusion only. I would like to think that people want to heal because they want to heal But it always seems like something dramatically has to happen in order for that to happen.
And yes. And look, to say thank you, I don't know. I commend you to say thank you. I commend you on transparency. For those of you out there, yes, Newton said it. There's a law about it. An object will stay in motion until acted upon by equal and opposite force. I'm sure I butchered that a lot, but you guys got the general idea. The point being, a lot of times we wait until an external force of equal and opposite magnitude meets with us to have a change. The realization I want you guys to have, and again, to say thank you, what am I thanking for? But I commend you on, this guy is like living it right now. You can't actually tell the weight that's being carried, but sharing it with you. Don't wait for that external opposite force to strike you. Desire can be the force for you. And what I mean by desire is you have to determine, what does your positive, successful, powerful, helpful future look like? Motivation is seated inside of desire. So if that's true, and if you lose your motivation, at any time we can imagine a desirable future. And because it's a future that we desire, motivation's seated in it. And because motivation's seated in it, we have access to our motivation. So what I say is, yes, a lot of times most people wait for that external force to hit them. But if you're watching this today, like, here's the opportunity. You don't have to wait for that external force. You can be that external force by building desire, and you can build desire by literally imagining what your future will look like. We can recreate whatever. Patrick,
you're right, though, and I love the fact that
you're
like the force that has to change your direction in order for change to happen. And it's unfortunate, but I guess if you look through history and all the different things that some people have accomplished in life, sometimes it's when they hit the rock bottom of their life, and that's when things have to change. And I don't know how much rock bottom more I could be by losing everything that meant so much to me in just a split second. And it was like in that time frame, I still feel like this is a dream. I still feel like this is a dream. I cannot believe I'm sitting here talking to you about me losing everything because of a problem I had and did what I did. And right now it's all gone. All the things that I've been working for these past years, gone. If things go the unfortunate way that it may go, a lot more is going to be gone. And it's like, at what point? And
you decide the point.
You have to decide the point. And I actually tried to decide the point myself and take matters into my own hands and tried to end it. And I say tried because it was a lot of times when people say, let's talk about it, it's the word suicide. A lot of people, when they say they're going to have suicide, or they tell other people, it's, hey, I need attention. Please give me attention. Suicide attention. But I didn't tell anybody. I did what I had to do to figure it out. And I did everything I could to do it. And I'm still sitting here talking to you. And then it was Pastor. I'm moving around a lot, so you just direct it however you want to go here. It didn't work out. Told a very good friend of mine, a pastor of mine. And hey, we talked about our faith and belief. He says, if you die tomorrow, do you know you're going to heaven? And I'm like, I can't answer that. He goes, you need to be able to answer that. Let's get you baptized. And spent the next day really contemplating, understanding what that meant, the ramifications of it. And that's one of those things I even talked to her. I told you about this morning. And over the years, as we went to church, I kept telling my wife at that time, and I had to go up there and do that. I really feel like I'm ready for that. And for some reason, I just never walked up there to do it, I guess. And again, going back to the point, it takes something of a disaster for you to wake up and do it. Yeah.
Hey, but here's the...
So I ended up doing it and getting it done. And it was a big burden off my shoulder, knowing God is merciful. God does forgive you. All sins are equal to him. And I got to let that part go and start working on the other part. I don't know. I'm all over the place here.
Okay. Here, all right, couple things. I got two things. One, I want to highlight something, and the second thing, I'm going to ask you a question. The highlight that I want to kick out to you, for you, and also for everyone watching, the realization of, man, it had to take all this for me to get here. So what? You're here. Now you're here. That would be like saying, man, I went through all this stuff to get to the top of the mountain. You wouldn't believe what I went through. You're at the top of the mountain. Now, the top of the mountain is the bottom of the valley right now. I get that. You're like, Greg, it's not the top of the mountain. Okay, I'm tracking, but you're here. You're here. You went and got baptized. It's done. It's now in your past. You're here. You have to get to the blessing of, I believe. You have to get to the blessing of where you are right now and start deciding what you're going to build in the future. What does that journey look like? And the second part, the question, if you die right now, are you going to heaven?
Yes.
Okay. I love you, brother.
I love you. That's why we're here. I hope this reaches out to a lot of people, even if it's not a lot, if it's just that one that can look at this and say, wow, I can relate to that. But what were some other things that we were talking about as far as, I don't know where her journey is right now, and I don't know. I just pray for her. But what am I dealing with here? We talked about self-sabotage. I like to call it success suicide. You've got everything in the world, man. Look at you. Look where you live. Look what you got. Everything else, and you find a way to f it up.
Yeah.
So, what is that mechanism? What is that trigger that you're like, man, I don't deserve this. And the only thing I know is pain. The only thing I know is struggle. The only thing I know is bad credit. The only thing I know is not having enough money to pay my bills. The only thing I know is driving a shit car. The only thing I know is this, and that. And you find a way. You've got everything in the world to change that, but you find a way to get back into it because that's what you know. Even if it's been 4 or 5 years removed, it's still in the back of your head because it's almost like a little whisper in the back of your head saying, hey, this is what you really know.
Yes, and like when we talk about what is it for you and for everybody watching, right? And when we talk about what is the stem of that, what is the root of that, what is the bottom entry level that allows that to take place, and I believe it comes in self-love, self-value, and forgiving ourselves. Pardon me, everyone. I believe in forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. That's where I believe it comes in, because when we don't love ourselves and when we have not forgiven ourselves, then we are guilty for so many sins. Because, by the way, if you're anything like me, and only if you're anything like me, you do a ton of sins every single day. But if you're not like me, you're free and clear of that. So if you're like me, you do a ton of sins every day. And if you've not taken the spiritual journey, whatever that is for you individually, okay, and if you're not capable of loving yourself, and if you're not capable of forgiving yourself at an unconscious level, you have to be judged for all those things you did, and there's a payment to be paid, and that is self-sabotage.
It's not the first time I've had time to reflect on this, but I was limited in my beliefs until we started talking about this and actually getting deep into it. And I'm looking back at all the self-sabotages, going back all the way. My first marriage was successful, had a successful business, but I found a way to successfully sabotage it. Okay.
Because you weren't worthy at some level. I'm projecting.
Right. Okay. And so then I went off to this rebound relationship, and that's the one that put me in jail. And I found a way to mess that up.
Dude, I'm loving on you
that's
fucking
all right.
hard
Go ahead.
right now. That relationship didn't put you in jail. Something you did.
No, I'm right.
Okay.
But what I'm piecing together, so I'm looking past, okay, look at the other ones, look at the other ones, look at the other ones. And so I'm like, what's the one common denominator of all of these issues of self-sabotage, success, suicide? Alcohol. And now I realize it wasn't alcohol.
Boom.
The common denominator was me.
You were there every time.
I was the one.
Every time.
I that one up, and I this one up too. So the question is why are you this up?
And you've committed to the journey. You have to conquer. I'm projecting here, but you have to conquer. What is it that you need to forgive yourself for and love yourself for so that you can be worthy enough to live the life that you desire? If internally you are not worthy enough for the life you desire, you will not achieve that life. And eventually you'll even stop desiring it. But you, Patrick, are allowed to forgive yourself. You are allowed to go on a journey of healing. You are allowed to love yourself. You are allowed to be worthy. And the journey has already begun. It's already begun. And I'm going to suggest, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to suggest it began at baptism just 48 hours ago. Roughly, however many hours ago that was. So the journey's already begun. There's not, what do I have to do? No, keep going. You're here right now. This is the journey. Right now. You're doing it. And I keep being the example for others. Allow yourself, because for everyone out there, right? So when you're going on this journey, I'm on the journey. I have a couple days ahead of me on launching it. Okay, as we go on this journey, keep in mind that there's when it's too heavy for you, Patrick, because some days I don't know how it's going to be. It's possibly could be too heavy some days, right? When it's too heavy, think about all the other people that you're going to be able to inspire. This allows us into what is from some of our trainings, dissociation.
Yeah.
Because your story is going to be powerful. Your story is going to resonate. You are going to figure out, you are going to make amends in your future. I don't know what it totally looks like, but you're going to make amends and you're going to make an impact because of this in your future. I'm not going to believe any different for me.
That's going to be one of those things I'm going to have a lot of faith in, because stuff that's coming up because of this, we have all this mental healing and faith and all those journeys and stuff like that, but that we also have to deal with the reality of man, earth,
yes,
laws,
literally.
And so the pain of the law, the
ramifications of what's going on.
Yeah, of what's happening.
And they're still not even finalized.
They're
we
not
don't
even
know.
finalized.
The tally's not done.
Right. The tally's not done, and that could be really ugly. And going to a place where I just never thought I'd ever go again. And I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around the acceptance of dealing with that kind of punishment, and for however long that might be, and the ramifications of what it does to my career and other things down the road. But those are, I don't know, those are things I really have no control over. I guess.
Yeah, you are going to fill in the gap with faith. Fill in the gap with faith as you allow yourself to. I want to think what label I want to use, or word. We may call it a word. I want to think what word I want to use. What comes to mind is paying your debt. And I feel like there's just such a better use of words. I'm going to use it as a placeholder for now. That's going to be part of the journey. That's going to be part of the journey. And that part of the journey is probably, I'm just guessing and projecting here, is not going to be overly exciting. And there's probably not words that make that part of the journey fun. I'm going to suggest what pulls you through those chapters is looking 5 and 10 years ahead and realizing that what this is. So Viktor Frankl, for those of you, Man's Search for Meaning, great book if you haven't got through that one yet, Auschwitz survivor. And I am massively paraphrasing when I say this. Read the book because it's so much deeper than this. I'm massively paraphrasing when I said this. But he said, so Viktor Frankl said, suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds meaning. So right now you're suffering, but this podcast is allowing your suffering to have meaning. So as you can continue to project out in the future, it gives meaning to what your suffering is. Now you might say, yeah, but okay, I'm just saying I'm not carrying your weight. I don't know what it actually is, what the real truth is. However, I'm using Viktor Frankl as a comparison. This man, while in Auschwitz, while you could see his skeletal system, while people were dying to his left and right, he envisioned how he would share this story in the future, and that's what he accredits to getting through. I believe a lot of your value, and everyone that's watching right now that's going through something so effing heavy that they're not sure how they'll get to the other side. The biggest piece of advice I can give is this: start documenting every day. This is the frickin' story. This is what's going to help serve other people. Nobody gives a shit about the guy that didn't have problems and made it all the way to the top real easily. We give a shit about your story. I give a shit about your story. Mm-hmm. The only way your story becomes valuable is by going through this and giving it meaning. And you have to be the one to do that, I think, I think you owe it to yourself and to everyone else that's been involved in your story up until that right now. Every single other human that's been involved up until right now.
I have to admit that I must be really blessed to have at least touched some people's lives and not messed it up. Just because I've had a lot of support, a lot of outpouring and understanding. And even as raw as I am about telling the story about what happened, and as much as it upsets me and seeing pictures and stuff like that, it's, you say yourself, I love you, I'll see you later tonight, I love you, I love you. Do you really love them? Why would someone, if you love, why would you do that? And I'm really having a hard time with a lot of those things. And then your mind goes into this stupid warp where it's, oh, this or that or this. No, man, you loved her. You loved the family. You loved everything. And I think the loss of it being stripped from you, not by anybody else, you stripped it from yourself. I stripped it from them.
Yes.
It's not them. It's not father-in-law. It's not sister-in-law. It's not daughters or grandkids. I stripped it from myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do I blame her? No. How can I? She didn't cause the problem. Who's the common denominator?
It's you.
Me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all these other issues.
And keep in mind, man, I just want to say, like, when we look at, because right now, and we've talked before, like right now, your mind's, the human mind, quantifying right now. It's doing the best it can. It's trying to quantify. Keep in mind, like when we're evaluating, how could I do it to someone? Did I even love? We, generally speaking, hurt the ones we love the most. It's not our goal, but as a species, we do it. So I only say that to say why I say that, why I bring that up is to say, if I love that person, I wouldn't have hurt them. I can't value that as a true statement. I didn't say because we love someone, we should ever hurt them. Sadly, I've been the person that has caused that in my past in times.
Could it be a point of, it just came to my head, why don't you do that same thing to other people? She knew me better than anybody because I was so transparent to her and open to her. Maybe that she's also the person that I was the most vulnerable to, so that when she would strike one of those vulnerable chords, I reacted the way I reacted.
Maybe.
Because I feel like you know me, but you wouldn't know me well enough to strike a chord that was deep. I'm not trying to dig for an excuse here. I'm like saying maybe it's because of that amazingly deep vulnerability that I opened myself up to, and then with the induction of alcohol, overreacting and doing what I did.
Yeah. I'm here listening, and I don't know that good, but I can speak for self. I don't know the answer. And the big thing is my big projection for you and for anyone watching is, I think
there's so much in a relationship, and unfortunately we put a lot of stress on a lot of factors. Money, credit, not just those two things, but there's a lot of variables that we put a lot of factors in, and they become stressful. And I think without I don't know. I'm not trying to be a marriage counselor here, but I'm just trying to say that there's got to be a lot of communication and openness about it. And I don't know if we lacked that at that time, or if it was just a culmination of a lot of things that were irritating to her. And then it just all came to a head at that moment, and then I was the icing on the cake. It was over. I don't know.
The big thing right now is, what do you plan on doing with it in the future?
That's the big question, and the thing that I'm trying to understand or wrap around in my head, is there a future? And I don't want that to sound pathetic or, but there's a lot of stuff I've got to go through, like you said, and to be able to get into my head and realize 5 years down the road, this is a bump in the road, a necessary bump in the road for you to be the better person that 3 to 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. And I say 3 to 5 years, it's going to take that long to get this cleared out of my life.
You'll be, yes.
Isn't it amazing?
Isn't
that amazing? You can spend 4 to 5 years with someone, build what you think is a great relationship, and lose it in a matter of a fucking second. And then it's going to take you 3 to 5 to heal from it. Man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Life.
Man.
The big thing, so think about this, and you said, I don't know if there is a future from this. I want to talk about that for a second. So the fact is, there's definitely pardon me, thought I had to belch. There's definitely a future. And I said, what are we talking about? So there's an existence of, there's the potentiality of. Now, there's our higher power that, hate to ruin it for all of us, but none of us are getting out of this thing alive. So there's a time marked for all of us. And outside of that, you're going to decide. You, outside of our higher power, you're going to decide if there's a future of this or not, from this or not.
Maybe I should take some of my own advice that I give people. If you knew 5 years from now you would have that if you just did these steps,
Boom.
would you do it?
Would you, Patrick?
So the question I always would ask somebody or make the statement of is that 5 years is going to come by anyway.
The clock's going to tick anyway. We don't have to do shit for the clock to tick.
So the clock is going to tick anyway with or without you, Patrick.
5 years is showing up one way or another.
Yeah. Are you going to be in it or are you not going to be in it?
Are you going to be in it, and are you going to be an impact on the rest of the world? Are you not going to be in it at all? The clock's going to tick. 5 years from now is going to come. And there is a reality. I believe this, so, I'm a little cuckoo, so. There's a reality in which you are serving others through this, which you are creating an impact because of this in 5 years from now. Right now, there's already that reality already exists. Now, whether you allow that reality to play out or not, we're going to find out. But that reality already exists in the future. That's my belief.
Like we just said, the 5 years is going to be here with or without you.
It already exists.
Right, exactly.
We have to mark time to get there, but it already exists. It already exists. We just have to mark time to get to what already exists in the future.
And if you want to believe in faith, he already sees the 5 years from now. He already knows it's there. He knows 50 years is there. He sees it already. Does he see it with you in it or not? That's my end. Am I willing? Do you want to
impact the earth? Do you want to heal? Do you want to impact the earth? You don't have to answer that right now. Those are just questions to quantify.
Right.
Because if those two questions are yes, then there's nothing else to worry about. Fill in the rest with faith. Do you want to heal and do you want to impact the earth? If the answer is no, then there's a whole nother conversation to be had. But if the answer is yes, you can fill in all the gaps with faith starting right now, and I didn't say it was going to be easy.
It's a lot to...
That's a lot.
It's a lot to... Not only are you trying to wrap your head around what happened, and it's still so fresh and seems so unreal. Like I said earlier, this still feels like a effing dream. Not even a dream, a nightmare that it's like I'm waiting to wake up and back in bed where I belong. But anyway, that's not happening. So not only are you trying to digest that, but then you're also trying to digest the future. You're trying to digest what you're going to have to go through. You're just so much coming in at one time.
No, I can only imagine.
Hard.
It's gotta be intense.
I know, and you're in the NLP, and I'm breaking my heart that I can't get that practitioner thing yet, but I'll get there eventually.
You will.
It's always talking about the millions of bits of pieces that are coming into your head, and your mind's only able to process about 126.
Yeah.
So think of all the millions of bits of coming into my head right now, and how much I'm trying to process. And it's mind-boggling right now.
And this actually just me. Most people watching this probably can't quite understand. You'll understand a little bit, but I talk about this frequently. So for those of you watch, you can NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, a whole other thing. But you can just Google this. This doesn't have to do with NLP. It has to do with our neurology as humans. So we're taking in up to 2 million bits of information every second. A bit is a binary code, so a 1 or a 0 is the smallest form of information. We're taking in about 2 million or up to 2 million every single second. You can just Google that. That's just a stat. And then out of that, we're only consciously aware of about 126. You can find a variation there somewhere between 126 and 132, but the difference between 126 and 132 in terms of bits is so minute it's not even measurable. Okay, so we're only consciously aware of about 126. So most people don't realize is they just go through life and they think their 126 is all there is, but there's 16,000 options of 126 inside of 2 million every single second. Holy shit. All right, now I just sharing that with everyone else. Now this is me to you. You have to understand and you have to allow, like we were talking about this a little bit earlier, just me and you offline. You have to realize that, so the 2 million has always been there, but right now, because I tell people, like most people, when I tell them about the 126, they say, how can I be aware of more than 126? And I say, you wouldn't want to be, because then you become immobilized. The reason why we're only aware of the 126, the rest of the information is autopilot filtered for us, so that we can continue to do all the things that we're doing at the rate that we're doing them. You right now, your mind is shifting. And so if you can picture, not everyone, this is for you personally. Oh, shoot. We're okay. We're going to keep going. All right. So if you could picture, if there was 16,000 piles of playing cards on this table, 16,000 of them, and each pile of cards had 126 cards in them. And so right now what's going on, just so you have the understanding of where you're at, just for quantification, and I hope that this helps you. My belief is this is going to help you get through realizing, like, okay, here's what's happening. Right now, your mind is picking up and filtering through, and it's, I don't know, and it's picking up another one, it's filtering through the 126, and it's picking up another one, and so it's like you're taking in, so your mind is racing and it's realizing all these potential alter realities. Because of that, it's beginning to immobilize you.
Yeah, I can totally understand. It's almost like paralyzing. Yeah, immobile. Yeah, it is, because you're like, I don't know which direction to go.
Which direction? Because your mind's which one? Because right now it's in.
You know what's messed up is that your mind will rationalize each one of those decks.
Yes.
This deck is, let's go south. Let's call it a good. Let's call it a day. This one's, oh, let's go through the next 5 years. This one here, yeah, we can handle the next year. You know,
and you could pick anyone, just so you know. Literally, you actually have the freedom to pick anyone.
My mind, literally, all the things all the scenarios that we have talked about, whether or not I want to be here in 5 years, whether or not what I want to do, my mind right now can rationalize either one of them.
Yes.
And
I hope and I pray that your mind picks being here in 5 years and impact. I hope and pray, seriously, forever. I hope and pray for you, Patrick, that your mind decides, that you and your heart and your mind decide to pick the deck of cards in which you go on this journey of healing, and you are here in 5 years to create an impact on the rest of this world. Because yes, your mind will rationalize whichever deck you choose to rationalize.
Yeah.
I want you to be here in 5 years. I want you to create a massive impact. I don't give a shit what happened in the past, because what I've caught you, I'm just being raw. This is candid. I've caught you continue to, but I've done this before. This pattern has happened before. If you keep paying attention that way, you'll make the pattern happen again. The pattern does not have to keep going. I can't believe any different. I'm sorry. I choose not to when I say can't.
And you're right. I need to find out what it is about me that lets that happen and continue to happen. Because it's been 20 years since anything of that magnitude of stupidity has ever happened. And actually, that's a whole new level of stupidity that just happened. And I don't know, it's 20 plus years. How does that creep back into your head, or how does that happen? Where does that deck of cards come from?
Are you willing to, and the situation that's at hand right now, that still has plenty of unpack, and we know that. We've talked about that. If we were to isolate that or compartmentalize that, if we were to look at everything else in our past, are you willing to forgive yourself for everything else in your past right now?
Yes, I have to. I don't know. I shouldn't say I have to, but you have to. In order to move past this, you've got to find a way to forgive yourself.
And so have you already, or are you willing to find that way? Have you already, or are you willing to find that way?
I felt like I did that during baptism.
Good.
But I think that was more of me surrendering myself to God and getting his forgiveness.
Good, because now you can forgive yourself because you do have his forgiveness.
Yes.
You have God's forgiveness, yes. And because of that, so good. So now you're on that journey. That you have never done before. Tell me how many times you've been baptized in the past.
0.
Okay, so can you let yourself continue launching this journey?
Absolutely.
Because you've never been baptized in your past before.
Never felt forgiven before.
So when you ask what's the thing, I'm going to choose that's the thing. If you want to prove that wrong, you could, but I'm going to choose that's the thing. Like, your journey is in motion right now.
Right.
With what you've never had in your past. Brother, I appreciate I came on here super raw, super organic. I didn't know what to expect. I don't know where we're going. But I just got to tell you again, like, I appreciate on the scale of the impact that you are making right now. I have appreciation for the impact and for the vulnerability that you're making right now. I'm gonna continue to pray for you. I want you to have healing. I want you to have forgiveness. I want everyone involved. I am praying for your wife that she can have the healing that she deserves from this situation. This situation has affected obviously more than just one. I'm praying for everyone involved.
Yeah.
I want you to have healing.
It's such a ripple effect of what happens, because it's not only just the two people involved, but it's all the people that were connected. It's family, it's friends, it's neighbors, it's everybody that, and I, not only am I looking for my own healing and praying for that, but I pray for theirs as well, and what I've done to them and in my actions and how I've affected them, and give my wife all the healing that she needs to get past where she needs to get going. And I hope that everybody that's out here and who may have listened to this, parts of it, bits and pieces, or have you stuck with it the whole time with us? This is about a journey today that started a couple of weeks ago out of just an unfortunate mistake between two people, and caused by me. That we determined that the common denominator is Patrick. And I used to think the common denominator was alcohol, but it wasn't alcohol, it was me. And we've learned here also that alcohol is not really the problem. It's the solution, because there's a deeper problem. And the alcohol brings out that problem, I guess, when triggered. I don't know if that's even possible or whatever. But what had happened was inexcusable. And so I'm paying the price for that emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally. So much has come in this last 2 weeks, from trying to end it all to finding salvation and being baptized and looking for that forgiveness and being able to answer the question, if I died tomorrow, would I know I'm going to heaven? And now I can say yes.
How's that feel? How's that feel?
It feels really
inside, like deep inside, like knowing that, like realizing that you have complete and total spiritual.
It's interesting because growing up in a different type of religion, I won't say the name of it. You're baptized as a child and you're an infant. You don't know what you're doing, but to be fully aware of what you're doing and the ramifications from it, and understanding what Jesus said for baptism is to be fully immersed,
feeling the grace of God,
yes,
feeling.
And being fully immersed and just giving it all to him. And then the phrase that was, to me, is so powerful is leaving it in the water. Just leave it.
And every day, because like we tend to, and when I say we, let me project myself for a second. I want to project me for a second. There's a saying, let go, let God, but we give it to God for 3 seconds and I'm projecting me. I've never done this. We give it to God and 5 minutes later, we're like bear hugging it again. We're like, I'll figure this thing out. Like God can't handle the problem we gave to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep reminding yourself again and again and again. I don't care if it's 1,000,000 times. It's only because you're human, I think. Keep reminding yourself again and again to leave it in the water. Yeah. Again and again.
Yeah. That's where you left it. Why pick it back?
Why are you picking it back? Why are you taking us back from God? Is your God not big enough for this problem?
Yeah, and it's
because you can borrow my God if you need to.
God's walking with you all the time, and I learned something really valuable out of the Bible about God is your yoke. You ever heard of that yoke?
No.
Okay.
Send it.
God is your yoke. Yeah, and you know what a yoke is? So back in the old times, it was you see these two bulls or whatever, and they have those things that are connecting them, and they pull. So God is your yoke, and his burden is easy. So what he's trying to say is that God is your yoke. I'm connected to you, and it makes your burden easy. And understanding that, he's always walking with you. So it reminded me of an analogy of a story of a guy walking through the airport with his luggage, and it's a big piece of luggage, and he's struggling with it, right? And he's carrying it this way. Then he gets on the little escalator, and he's holding it this way, and he's about to drop it. Then this old guy comes up to him and says, that thing has wheels on it, don't you? So dude, there's tools and there's things around you to make your burden easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet I get myself caught up into it. And this is probably one of my issues for a long time, is that you isolate yourself to try and solve the problem and there's people around you like you, there's God, there's people to lean on to make your burden.
The one thing about God, like when we're, yes, like when we're totally by ourselves, lean in on God. Like I'll share with you guys a little bit. Can I share with you the other day? My relationship with God is not the picture perfect, pretty story. Like I had a lot of resentment to God. I'm real comfortable talking about it. Like a lot of resentment to God, because when I was a child, I remember crying and begging God to make the physical and psychological abuse go away, and it wasn't going away. So I grew up with some resentment there.
Yeah, that's powerful.
The thing is, realize that I've been through my journey to be where I'm at, but realize that God's there all the time. And again, you're giving God the problem, you're allowing God to have the problem, or you're taking it back. So you can get like in the moment, you're like, I can't, you have to understand that you're the one, like you're saying, I can't give this to you. Like when you're by yourself, God's there. I'm sorry.
And that's the thing to keep in mind, because it's those moments that I was by myself. And I'll give you, this is before I was baptized. This is before I gave myself to God. This is before I laid my burdens down for him and left it in the water. When I was by myself and isolated in those hotel rooms, that was when the devil came in and said, you know what?
It was the heaviest. You didn't have God in that moment.
You know what he said? There's an easier way. You can end it right now. I'm going to tell you something. That's some dark, dark shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And I hate to cuss, and I said the F word. Now I shouldn't. But I'm saying it's very dark. It's so dark, I don't want to project on anybody, but you can rationalize anything.
I'm sure most people, if you might be hearing it for the first time, or if you've watched me for a little while, you've already heard it more than once. I've been in a position where I've strongly contemplated ending my life. And I read a book on forgiveness. If you've seen me pitch my story before, and I didn't buy this book. I don't know where this book came from. It was right in my proximity. And I challenged God. That I would read this book, and if there was something in it, that he had to give it to me at the end of the book. Now some people cringe maybe hearing that. I don't know. Maybe you don't. I don't know how you'll go on your journey. Okay. Me and my God have a unique relationship. I say that to say, though, maybe it's not you. I full on challenged at that time in my life. That was 12 years ago. I've now have a much prettier relationship with my God. I say that to say, challenge him if you need to, whatever you need to, but understand that God's bigger than you. And why are you taking the problem back. I say that from a place of I can't know your exact weight. But I say that from a place of being I did have a roof over my head. I was not homeless, but I did have an eviction notice. I did have no electricity, no power, no water, and I was begging for food, and I had an eviction notice, but I did have a roof over my head. But I say it to say, so I can't know your weight. I can't. But I say it when I say, let God carry this, I say it from someone that's been through a parallel journey. I can't know your weight, but I had a parallel journey.
Yeah, wow.
We took a lot of turns here.
We did a lot of turns here, and it's, again, trying to pick up another deck of 126 cards. You're right. That is the struggle I think man has with faith, is letting go and not trying to solve it yourself.
Take it back. Yeah. Yeah, we're real good. Me too. I'm real good. We're good at taking it back.
I got to try and
I figured it out.
I got to try and figure out how to manipulate this and manipulate that and reach out to her and tell her how sorry I am and do all this other stuff. And if she knows me, she knows how sorry I am. And we're all in shock right now as far as what happened and how it happened. And I've been very blessed to have enough people that I've told it. I haven't told the whole story to everybody. I've told the whole story. Whoever I've told the story, I've told the whole story to. And I've been very blessed. Some people are automatic and they're like taking her side and they're like, get away from me. I don't want nothing to do with you. And there's a lot of people that, hey man, there's some healing in this. There's some growth in this. There's some love in this. Believe it or not, there's some love in this. And I'm going to have to take that away from this. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you spending the time with me. I know you're a busy man and I know you're taking some time with me. I feel like I'm a project for you.
You're a friend for me. That's funny though. That's funny. That's good.
But I am a working project. And here's another thing that really makes it so difficult for me to wrap my head around, on top of everything else that's happened. 54 years old, starting over again.
Dude, but I already told you once, and I'm going to say it again. I'm real firm on it. You get to start with 54 years worth of experience. That's pretty fucking cool.
And I need to start thinking more like that, because and then I try to look at all these different success stories. Colonel Sanders didn't find his recipe till he was 60.
It's not about like it could be a big empire for you if that's what you want to envision. But what I mean is literally is most people that are starting their journey don't have 54 years of experience, or most people that have 54 years of experience by no way in hell are about to count their losses and start over. You have both of those things in one unique situation. Now, it happened because of unfortunate events. Some of those unfortunate events you're going to have responsibility for. Some of those unfortunate events are inappropriate behaviors. That has nothing to, it has nothing to do. There's the essence of Patrick. And you're going to make the choice on what the future looks like. Dude, I just felt everything I shared today. I had no clue. I really had no clue. I just channeled and I just shared whatever I was called to share with your friend. You're a friend. It's not a project. I'm here for you every day. As far as people, some people, everyone has their own traumas. Some people are not going to be able to quantify and to be able to support you because their traumas are not going to allow them. And I love them in where they're at.
Right.
And in you, I'm very comfortable, very congruent, very clear on the fact that the behavior is not acceptable. I believe for all human beings, we are not our behavior. Our behavior is something that we do. Our behavior begins to characterize us when it's repeated behaviors. Who we are, the essence of who we are, is the children of God. That's who we are. And then we do things.
Right.
And we all do things.
God never did say it wasn't going to be easy, but having a relationship with him has certainly made the burden seem a little lighter.
Dude, let me share. Can I share one that you just made me think about something? Someone said that. I can't remember who. I wish I could have credit you. It was a men's group once upon a time. I wish I could have credit you, but it was here in Middle Tennessee. I don't remember who it was. And so they said to me when I was somewhere on my journey of like still quantifying spirituality and God and how I felt about that whole situation, because that's been a journey for me, still on it. And someone said to me, I'm like, how could God let all these things happen to me? And by the way, listen to my ego. Stand by. No, but I'm like, however I worded it, but essentially, how's God let all these things happen to me? Right. And he looked at me and he said one sentence, and I was like, I was, whoa. And so I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember his exact words, but the message was, God never promised any form of what you would quantify as, I'm paraphrasing, right? I'm using my own words. God never promised Like there's no part in the book or in his scripture and in his promise ever that I'm aware of in which he promised us fun, ease, anything on earth.
Right.
The promise is eternity afterwards.
Right.
When this guy said this to me, I was like, oh, shit. I thought I was owed something on earth. Oh, shit. It can be as hard as we want it to be on earth. Who gives a shit? This is a flash of eternity.
And it's up to
And the
who?
promise is eternity. The promise is eternity.
Right.
The promise was never earth. Whatever you and I go through on this earth was never the promise.
Mm-hmm.
Holding our faith is our part of the bargain for the payment of eternity.
That goes right back to what I was saying. In his grace and in his mercy, he promises your burden will be easier. Okay? He never said it was going to be easy, but he did promise the eternal life like you just said. And knowing that now, if I die tomorrow, I have that opportunity and that I believe I'll be in heaven has made this journey so far a lot easier.
And keep in mind, love it. You don't have the opportunity. You're going there tomorrow unless you decide different.
Right. And that's it. So I hope somebody takes I don't know, we may not even get a single person looking at this, but it's out there in the universe and it's all for you guys to listen to and hope you can get something out of it. In recap, summary, I unfortunately lost a wonderful relationship in my life in which has in turn put a lot of problems into my life. But I take ownership of them, and to the severity, we'll figure all that out. But in the process, I found God in a new way. I've always felt I had God, but I received God in a whole new way of being baptized and taking this burden off of me and giving it to him and leaving it all in the water and and then building from there and just taking that with me on this journey. Yeah.
And everything you've everything you experience, when you recall everything, so this situation gets left in the water, and every time you have a new memory about your past, if you hadn't left it in the water, just go mentally put it in the water.
That's all you have to do. Because his mercy is new every time. Regardless, it doesn't matter. He doesn't measure. We talked about this earlier. He doesn't measure the severity of the sin. To him, they're all forgiven. It's us on earth that determine the severity.
The value and
There's some things I'm going to be dealing with. Reach out, put some comments down below. Tell us how you feel about what you're hearing. Love to hear it. Again, that's Greg. You guys can find him at gregpeace.com, PIHS.com. Good friend of mine. Glad you're here.
I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate getting to share this with you, brother.
Appreciate you, bud.